Step back into the Old West, where beauty, strength, and spirit shine through every glance. These rare photos of Native American women capture a timeless elegance you won't forget. In 1905, Laiki Yates, daughter of a Laguna Pueblo chief, was photographed in ceremonial attire of necklaces and a belt. The scene near Albuquerque, in west-central New Mexico's semi-arid landscape, reflects a moment when expanding railroads began reshaping trade and cultural exchanges. A 1908 portrait attributed to Roland Reed shows a woman from the Ojibwe Nation. At the turn of the century, Ojibwe communities lived around the Great Lakes, following seasonal cycles of fishing and gathering while sustaining birch bark craft and beadwork. The image evokes resilience and modern encounters. Carl Wurz's 1900 Arizona photo depicts two young women seated near a window. Their rolled hairstyles reflected youthful roles in society. Around this era, villages across the Colorado Plateau mesas attracted traders, explorers, and artists. An 1878 image portrays a Cheyenne woman at Fort Keogh, Montana Territory. The military outpost, created after the 1876 Battle of the Little Bighorn under Nelson Miles, secured the Army's presence on the plains. Cheyenne people, Algonquian speakers allied with Lakota and Arapaho, endured forced displacement yet preserved tradition. Another early 20th century photo, attributed to Polly, depicts Carlotta Chiwiwi with daughters Maria and Felicita Zarita of Isleta Pueblo. Set in the Southwest as New Mexico neared statehood in 1912, the frame highlights kinship, female presence, and the sustaining role of women in Tiwa community life. Frederick Monson's early 20th century photograph shows a Hopi woman from Sichomovi, First Mesa, Arizona. She wears attire linked to farming rituals and village feasts. The scene reflects both cultural endurance and the transformations unfolding across the Southwest during this transitional era. A young woman of Taos Pueblo appears in an 1895 photograph in present-day New Mexico. Between adobe walls, her setting blends traces of daily work with a long Tiwa-speaking heritage. The Pueblo, with its multi-story communal dwellings, had been a trading hub of the Upper Rio Grande since pre-colonial times. An 1892 image depicts a young Kiowa woman engaged in an everyday moment with her community. She wears beadwork and cloth garments shaped by exchanges with settlers and plains trade. Her steady gaze, along with ritual adornments, evokes youth's role in cultural continuity as the 19th century neared its close. Photographed in 1897 by Frank LaRoche, a Spokane Nation woman appears dressed in the traditional styles of the Columbia Plateau. The late 19th century brought railroads and new economies to the Northwest, yet community life endured through basketry, beadwork, and ritual practices that safeguarded Spokane cultural presence. A 1904 photo from New Mexico portrays the Corn Maiden, a Pueblo mythic figure. At the century's turn, the imagery emphasizes corn's role as staple food, ritual symbol, and agricultural guide. The representation links myth and labor. In 1900, Carl Everton Moon began photographing Native communities in their homelands. His goal was to document landscapes, traditions, and rituals during a period when westward expansion and new frontiers were reshaping everyday lives and histories at the turn of the 20th century. A Taos Pueblo woman was photographed in the 1880s in New Mexico Territory. She wears dark wool garments, turquoise jewelry, and a shawl draped across her shoulders. Behind her, adobe dwellings show communal architecture. Her expression reflects a life shaped by rituals, trade, and farming cycles. Marcia Pascal, a Cherokee woman and daughter of U.S. Army officer George Pascal, emerged in the 1880s. Her life unfolded in the post-Civil War years, when railroads, westward migration, and shifting laws transformed Indian territory. She stood at the intersection of Native heritage and frontier society. A Kiowa woman photographed in 1894 lived on the southern plains, within what was then Indian Territory, today's Oklahoma. Following the Plains Wars, her people endured boundaries that disrupted traditions. The community faced strained ceremonies, shifting roles, and endangered language and spiritual practice. In 1900, a young Indigenous woman appears in the ceremonial attire of her nation. At the century's edge, native groups confronted loss of lands and restricted autonomy. Yet clothing, ornament, and ritual attire underscored enduring ties, asserting cultural continuity in the midst of accelerating transformation. Frank Reinhardt's 1899 photograph depicts Hattie Tom, an Apache woman, during a time when the West is being redefined under new civil authority. Her adornments and composed stance reveal cultural choices, signaling how indigenous identities were expressed in the shifting late 19th century frontier. Elsie Vance's chest win, linked to the Chiricahua, represents Apache history in the Southwest during the late 19th century. Despite campaigns and removals, clans maintained kinship and survival routes. Her name recalls experiences of captivity, border military posts, and the endurance of community networks. An 1886 photograph shows Lizzie Long Wolf performing in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Her role illustrates how spectacle shaped the nation's frontier memory. With choreographed riding, sharpshooting, and staged battles, such tours marketed a version of the West blending entertainment with cultural representation. A Hopi woman of the Pueblo people appears in an 1895 image from Arizona's mesas. Her attire and ornaments reflect family ties and social stage. By century's end, the Hopi encountered traders, railroads, and researchers, while seasonal ceremonies and rituals remained central to community rhythms. In 1899, Frank Reinhardt photographed Chiricahua Apache woman Hattie Tom, this time within an ethnographic context. Her textiles, jewelry, and hairstyle highlight group traditions and artistry. Her composed posture evokes continuity, but also recalls memories of displacements and shifting alliances. The 1886 photograph portrays Isabel Perico, a Chiricahua Apache woman imprisoned as a prisoner of war. The moment reflects the conclusion of U.S. campaigns in the Southwest, when Geronimo's surrender brought captures of Apache groups. Her image embodies the costs of territorial occupation and military expansion. Around 1900, Alice was photographed, likely tied to the Cayuse, Walla Walla, or Umatilla peoples of the Columbia Plateau. Her adornments and attire suggest cultural roots. This period in the Northwest was shaped by treaties, removals, and redefined borders that reshaped native communities and their homelands. An 1885 image shows a young Comanche woman. Her beads, hairstyle, and fabric highlight craft skills and the influence of trade on the southern plains. Following the bison's decline and confinement to reservations, mobility and traditional subsistence were reshaped, altering clothing, rituals, and daily survival. A circa 1900 photograph depicts a young bride on her wedding day in the Arizona Plateau. Her textiles, turquoise, and shell adornments demonstrate inherited artistry. The hairstyle and woven garments mark the passage into adulthood, with marriage rites reinforcing kinship and ensuring continuity of the community. Julie Nelson appears in an 1886 photograph, dressed according to the refined codes of late 19th century society. Her hair, attire, and bearing suggest respectability amid urban growth and industrial change. Her composed gaze and posture highlight self-possession and awareness of social expectations. In 1895, George A. Addison painted Kiowa women Amy and Carrie, situating them on Kiowa Island, South Carolina. Post-Reconstruction barrier islands link fishing with cotton trade. Their clothing, poses, and objects connect community life to coastal commerce, tides, and the surrounding environment. During the 1880s, young Comanche women were central to collective survival, organizing camps, preparing food, and working leather. They maintained trade networks and buffalo-based economies, while carrying languages, rituals, and songs. Their role in kinship and exchange preserved continuity amid sweeping change on the plains. History Unveiled is feeling lonely. 99% of you haven't subscribed yet. Don't miss these rare photos and hidden stories from the past. Hit subscribe now and join us as we unveil history, one frame at a time.